Oh, it better be over. If McKinnon was the main character at two Sidney Crosby Stanley Cup parties by being that drunk, come on, Sid, do the guy a solid. You're his idol. So drink like a champion today. You can take one day off from the training regimen. You can pay a driver to drive you from the party to your actual driver. So get yourself a whole bunch of beers and have yourself a great time. By the way, was it Landeskog, I think, who was asked how to build a team that's as dominant as the Avalanche, and he said something like draft Cale Makar? Yeah, that's a pretty nice start. That guy is unbelievable. He is, I would imagine, Bob, for people my age who have no real, frame of reference for Bobby Orr other than a very overrated highlight goal to win a Stanley Cup final, I imagine that's the closest thing to Bobby Orr that you see in the modern game.
Yeah, he's the youngest guy ever to win the Conn Smythe since Bobby Orr, and that's how good he is. 29 points in 20 games, and he is just fantastic watching him play. And the Flyers took Nolan Patrick that year and not him. So that will be interesting to see, how long now they can stay on top, because it's difficult to do, as we saw with Tampa Bay. We'll get to the phone lines in 1 second. I want to ask you real quick about Deshaun Watson. Now the Houston Texans are being sued, and it looks like a lot of the same women who sued Watson will go after the club. But tomorrow they're going to meet face-to-face. And from what I understand of the CBA, the player involved has to be notified 10 days in advance. So they already know, Deshaun Watson and his camp know what this suspension time will look like. What do you think it will end up being? What do you think it is? What do you think the league wants?
I think the league wants a year for sure. I think the league wants a year because you've heard those the rumors floating of the league wants indefinitely, and people have said, well, they want indefinitely because they think there could be more lawsuits coming out. I read a story today that said, there might be 6 more. I think when you hear the league say indefinitely, it's because they really want a year. They know if they float indefinitely that you have a better chance of getting what you want. I think they have a pretty good chance of getting a year. I really do. I think the scope of this, the sheer numbers of it, Bob, even though he settled a bunch of them, the sheer numbers of it, I think, work a little bit in the league's favor here in terms of trying to get a year. I think the Players Association wants to get it more like 8 to 10 games. I have a hard time seeing that. I think the league is going to win out here and get him for an entire season. Also, the Texans, I'll just say this, completely separate from, not separate from, it's related to, but the Texans are a real scumbag organization, and I think have been for a while, with a lot of seedy characters from Cal McNair to Jack Easterby in that front office. And I really hope this drops a hammer on them, too, because it certainly seems, based on the recent things that have come to light about them, that they knew about this and probably should have known something more was up and maybe did and did nothing about it.
Which is why they're being sued right now. We'll have more on that tomorrow. We'll talk about it. In the meantime, let's get to the lines. Chris, we got Dave in Peters Township. First up tonight. Hello, David. How are you?
Hi, Bob. Hey, I'd like to get back to the Pirates for a minute. I love watching Cruz play, but I can't bear seeing Michael Perez put in the lineup or even being on the team. This guy's batting 122. Last year he batted 143. He has an OPS right now of .404. You can't tell me that the Pirates cannot find a better catcher.
Well, they don't have many options, though, Dave. They had Roberto Perez. He got injured. They brought in Heineman. He's all right. They're all just average. They're waiting for Henry Davis, but who knows when his arrival time is. He had a home run and a big double yesterday, Chris, but he's in Double-A. How soon do you expect him? Can he make the jump from double all the way to the majors in 1 year like Sawinski was called upon to do?
I would like to see him in the majors next year. I think he needs to be in the majors next year. If you took the composite best parts of all of the Pirates catchers this year and tried to graft them into one super player, do you think you would get a league average catcher out of both Perez's and Heineman? Because I'm not sure that you would.
No.
A 404 OPS. I didn't look at Michael Perez's OPS. I'll take the caller's word for it. You could find a guy in single A right now who might just luck into a better looking set of numbers than that.
Yeah, they certainly need help. That's why they drafted him. They also have the 4th overall pick coming up this year. Back to the Lions. We have Anthony in the Hill. Anthony, thank you for joining us again tonight. What's up?
Hey, how are you doing? I was just wondering what you think about the pitching for the Pirates, and do you see them improving it? And
I think that's the biggest concern. I think they have position players, a lot of them. I look in their system, and, again, I'm not a scout. I don't know. What I do see is that, based on people who do this for a living, say there's not a lot of pitching down there, aside from Quinn Priester. They have some guys in AAA, but listen, Contreras, by some people's assessment, is a third starter. He should be an ace. They need aces. They need 1 and 2, Chris. I don't see they have many in their organization right now.
You know, Pony and I debated this today. He cited Priester, but then he couldn't really name anybody else. Obviously, we know about Contreras. You hope Keller develops into a middle-of-the-rotation guy at best now, which is a disappointment, but would still be a salvaging of his career. Let's say Contreras is a really good number 2, right? And Keller slots in as a 3 or 4, and maybe Priester slots in there in that 2, 3, 4 range, right?
Yeah.
Where do you find your ace? You know, I said this
Free
to Pony
agency.
today, and he said, well, it costs the most, and a lot of those guys, their teams are smart now. They lock them up. But, yeah, you want to get a guy for like a 1 or 2 year deal, maybe, but you're paying $25 million a year. Not that it's my money. I don't care. Go for it. But Pony said, well, hey, your best chance is to get like a Liriano-type guy again. Here's my big problem. Teams are much smarter than they were even 1 decade ago. Teams are just not dumb with how they handle pitchers. And yes, a change of scenery can help guys. You see Tyler Glass now, a great example, or Tyone thriving in New York. But it's much harder to find top-end pitching if you're not drafting and developing it. And that could be a major problem for the Pirates.
Yeah, you have, and now they can make trades to acquire more by using some of the other guys. Who knows how they're going to go about it, but they definitely have a shortage right now of guys who you would look at and place into their starting rotation in even 2 years from now. Ed in Castle Shannon joins us now. What's up, Ed?
Hey guys, how you doing this evening?
We're good, thanks.
Good. Hey, the reason I called is again to piggyback on the Pirate pitching. I tell you what, sitting here, it's frustrating watching them game after game after game. We see Stratton come in, Underwood, Crow, Banda, and again, I understand that, but it just feels like these pitchers are not major league pitchers, if you will, but if they're not on a major club, who do you bring up? And I think you touched on that briefly.
Yeah, they don't have a lot, and you know Chris Stratton is out there every single time. He seems like he's a favorite of Derek Shelton, but he seems to blow more saves than or blow leads at least. And they need better. Outside of Bednar, what do they really have down there, Chris? And that's another.
They don't have
spot.
much.
No.
And Bednar blew a game, and that's what happens when you're being worked very hard, like he has been at this point in the year for a bad team, which, you know, wins and losses wise doesn't make sense. Why put him out there that much, especially if you might dangle him quietly at the trade deadline? To Ed and everybody else frustrated about the pitching, maybe this is easier for me because I take this wide-angle, multi-year view. Really, do not like get mad that you saw Chris Stratton blow the game tonight. I want to stress this. O'Neal Cruz is the future. The future is here in the form of O'Neal Cruz. There's Nick Gonzalez. There's Henry Davis. You just said it. Priester will come up as a pitcher. Don't focus on the wins and losses. I cannot stress enough. You're going to drive yourself crazy with them losing games like this. Focus on the fact that the big, tall guy playing shortstop hit a laser beam that almost destroyed a seat in the outfield.
We have a tweet before we go to break. It's Mike Polite who says, hey, Bob and Chris, Burrows is an ace. Well, we'll find out. I mean, you can say that now, but we were waiting on Mitch Keller for how many years? We're still waiting. Don't know. I mean, it's easy to say that right now, but I haven't read enough stuff on him that makes him seem like a slam dunk kind of guy when he gets up here eventually, and I hope he does get up here eventually. We got to take a break. On that note, we'll take it. Come back with more. It is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here every night at 10:35.